Okay, this week's parsha is Baloscha. We discussed the kindling of the menorah. V'daber Hashem Moshe Lemor, daber al Aaron, v'marta Elov, speak to Aaron, tell him, say to him, Baloscha haneros, when you kindle the lights, al mu pnei menorah yivu shivas haneros, that when you kindle the menorah, the lights, which were 7, they should face towards the center one. There was 6, 3 extending on the right, 3 on the left, and there was a center light, which was the menorah. The other ones were called Kinei menorah. They were the branches of the menorah. 3 branched out to the right, 3 branched out to the left, and you had the center light. The center wick was vertical. The other wicks to the right and the left, they were bent towards the center light. And that's what it means. Yiru shivas, el mul pnei hamenorah, yiru shivas haneros. Towards the center light, all 7 should actually be focused, be facing in that direction. Let's see Rashi. Famous Rashi. Loma nischum parshas menorah, the parshas hanesiim. What is the Torah juxtaposed lighting in the menorah to the portion of the gifts of the Nesiim? When Aaron had seen the inauguration of the Nesiim inaugurating the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan, Choshoz Daito, he was a little put back. He was slightly towards offended is not the word, not offended. My wife said disheartened. Okay. Lohu v'lo shifto. He was not, neither he or his Shevet were included in the inauguration. So he felt, what's the reason? For the same reason. That because he participated in the Egel, to that level, although it wasn't in worshiping it, but he had some level of participation, was due to him that he and his tribe were denied the participation in inauguration of the Mishkan. Hashem says to him, Chayecho, I swear on your life, your participation has greater value than theirs. You will kindle and prepare the lights for kindling. So that participation has greater value than the inauguration. Although they brought the gifts to acknowledge and inaugurate the Mishkan, that you were not included in that is because your participation, your value of lighting the menorah has greater value than theirs. Now the question is, why is that? Why is his lighting in the menorah, why does it have greater value than acknowledging and inaugurating? And it was Alpi Hashem. Hashem is the one who chose who comes first, who comes second. And there's no question Aaron wanted to, as the other Nesiim wanted to. Aaron wanted to also, except it was according to Hashem's order. So Hashem set the order, and within the order, it was not Aaron. Where do we find something similar to this? Later we find that the Jews were a little contentious, and Moshe says to Hashem, I can't deal with it. I have to share this responsibility with others. So Hashem said, take 70 Zakanim and bring them into the Olam Moed elders, and I will pass your spirit onto them. Except there was a problem. There were next 2 of them had to be excluded. According to the number, so he drew lots, and he wrote on 70 of the parchments, Zoking, elder, and 2 of them were blank. So all these people were Zakanim. 2 of them, ultimately, they picked the lots, 2 of them drew blank lots, they were excluded. That means there was consideration that every one of them was qualified to be chosen, that he should receive the spirit from Moshe Rabbeinu, and they should prophesize. The Ruach, the spirit, should go on them. What? So they picked the lots. So the two that drew the lots, which were blank, were not included. So what did Moshe say to them? God is not interested in you. You know what that means? Here you're an elder. You're held in the same degree of regard as all the others. And all of a sudden Hashem says, you didn't make the grade. 70, you two guys are excluded. God is not interested in you. Aaron thought, here he's officiating. Here he's chosen to be the elite of Klal Yisrael. And when it comes to the inauguration of the Mishkan, and Hashem chooses the pecking order, it's not 1 through 13, but it's 1 through 12. Aaron's not even considered. So what is that? It's similar to the two lots that were drawn blank. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has no interest in you. As a result, it's Chol Shadaito. He was disheartened over here. He felt somehow what he believed to be is not. Hashem says, no, that you were not included has nothing to do with that. You don't make the grade, just to the contrary. Your participation surpasses theirs. Yours is the lighting. They only inaugurated it. The inauguration is for a moment. The lighting, as the Ramban learns, is ongoing. You continue to have that schus to light the menorah. So the Ramban asks a question. You have the schus to light the menorah every day. You kindle the menorah, you prepare it, and you light it. What about the officiating? The only person who could officiate is the Kohen. The daily communal offerings were brought only by Kohanim, not by the others. The others' inauguration was a one-time event. Aaron has an ongoing responsibility to officiate. Only he's qualified to officiate. In addition, Avodas Yom Kippurim, the service of Yom Kippur, even the ordinary Kohen is not able to officiate. Only the Kohen Gadol. So if that's the case, why was he disheartened? He's clearly the elite. Because what they did is a one-time thing. What he does is ongoing. Not only what he does is ongoing, even among the Kohanim, only the Kohen Gadol, only he is qualified to do the service. So what is the basis over here for this feeling that you didn't make the grade somehow, and it's like a rude awakening that you're not who you thought you were? That's the Ramban's question. So Ramban cites a midrash, which you have to understand that what it's referring to, the lighting of the menorah, is speaking about even after the Beis Mikdash was destroyed. There's the lighting of the Hanukkah menorah, that we light the lights of the Hanukkah menorah to commemorate that miracle. That will go even beyond the existence of the Beis Mikdash. That's Shel Chag Gadol B'Shalem, means your mitzvah will surpass even the existence of the Beis Mikdash. That's Shel Chag Gadol B'Shalem. Theirs is only related to the Beis Mikdash, but yours surpasses that. So this even goes beyond the service of Yom Kippur, beyond the daily service of communal offerings and individual offerings. That's how the Ramban explains, addresses this question. So, it's difficult. The lighting of menorah after the destruction of Beis Mikdash is purely rabbinical, right? It's not a doraisa. It's to commemorate the nest, the miracle of Hanukkah. We light the menorah. So you'd say, maybe like the Maral explains, in the Ala Nisim, we only speak about the victory over the Greeks. The mighty into the hands of the weak, the multitudes in the hands of the few, all that. There's no mention in the Ala Nisim of the miracle that there was only one pach, there was only enough oil to burn one night and burnt 8 nights. No mention of that. So it seems to be, what was the miracle? The miracle was the victory over the Greeks. So what's the Persumi Nisa? So what's the lighting of the candles? So the Maral explains, because maybe without the ness of the oil, you would have thought that the reason why the Jews were victorious over the Greeks, because they were more adept in warfare. It was like guerrilla warfare. The Greeks, they didn't know the terrain or whatever it was, that's why. So by having Hashem's hand during that time, which is the lighting of the oil, which burnt 8 days, which clearly could only be defined as a nes. Just as that was a nes, the victory was a nes. So what did Hashem use to reveal to the Jews and to the world that this is the hand of Hashem? It was the oil of the menorah, which was the representation of the lighting of the Beis HaMikdash. So even though it's rabbinical, it doesn't make a difference. Why did Hashem use that as the revelation, as the eye-opener, to appreciate what exactly went on? So since the menorah was actually chosen to be the revelation, therefore, you see how special that is. That's how I would understand the Ramban, based on this midrash, that it's speaking about Neres Chanukah, that we light even after the Churban Abayis, even after the destruction of Beis HaMikdash. That's to understand the Ramban. But I wanted to say slightly different, unrelated, not the way the Ramban is learning. The Gemara tells us, we mentioned this many times, that what is the Siyata D'Shmaya, the divine assistance that allows us to come upon the truth of Torah? What is that based upon? That's based upon the kindling of the menorah. Because the Gemara tells us in the covered sanctuary of the Mishkan or the Beis HaMikdash, what was located there? On the southern wall, you had the menorah. On the western wall, you had the shulchan, the golden table with the 12 showbreads, and you had the incense, mizbeach, the golden altar that you burnt the ketores. So the Gemara tells us, if you want to become wiser, to merit wisdom, when you say the Shmon Esrei, the Amidah, you should say it in a southerly direction. Because the menorah, the illumination menorah, that brings about the Siyata D'Shmaya to come upon the truth of Torah. That gives us the ability to illuminate, to come upon the truth of Torah. Misharotza lahashir, if you become wealthy, yatzbin. You should daven, you should say the Amidah in a northerly direction. Because what does the gold table with the showbread represent? That's malchus, that's kingship, that's royalty, that's wealth. So what does the menorah represent? Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's the elucidation and understanding of the truth of the Torah itself. So therefore, what is the essence of Klal Yisrael? What is the heartbeat? The essence of Klal Yisrael is the understanding of the Torah. And it should be applied properly, processed properly. Now, who activates the dynamic? What dynamic brings about those energies, those forces that give us that? It's the lighting of the menorah. You could have the Mishkan from today forever, but what is the focal point? What is the most important thing besides kapara? Atonement. It's actually coming upon the truth of Torah. Your participation is greater than theirs. Karbonos Yom Kippur, that's all atonement. But what is the core and the essence of Klal Yisrael? That's Yisrael V'Rais Kuchim B'Chulchatu. The Jewish people in the Torah and God are all intertwined. That's only through the Torah itself, the study of the Torah. Therefore, that was the consolation to Aaron, that you have the kindling that surpasses the Avodah Yom Kippur, the daily communal offerings, the private offerings. Therefore, that's the ultimate. Haloscha. What is the word haloscha? When you elevate, when you kindle it, you elevate the flame. What does that mean? Hashem shalav oleh. That when he lights the wick, the flame ascends, goes up. When the Kohen lights it, he doesn't just put the fire to the wick and walks away. He keeps the fire at the base of it till the fire ascends by itself. It's not that it actually, he leaves it and it starts sparkling a little and then eventually it goes off. No, he leaves it there till he activates the flame, that the flame ascends. What is this all about? And that's the procedure of lighting the menorah. We said many times, the Gemara tells us, and this is learned, how did the menorah come about? It says Moshe was, one of the things he had difficulty was the making of the menorah. And we explained, doesn't mean the physical form of the menorah. That every component of Mishkan had a representation regarding existence, both physical and spiritual. It had to be infused with a specific intent. Moshe understood the intent for every vessel and every component of the Mishkan. The intent for the menorah had difficulty. Now, why? So we explained that what does the menorah represent? Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh has infinite levels of understanding because it's Chochmas Hashem, because it's God's wisdom. As a result of that, for the menorah to function and activate all the forces and the energies that are needed for the illumination of Torah, only Hashem himself is able to infuse it with that intent, that it should function in that capacity. Okay? Therefore, he had difficulty. So what did he do? Hashem says, take that block of gold, just put it into the kiln, and what happened? And the menorah came out by itself. That's how it came about. So we asked the question, if Moshe is not able to do it at all, what does Moshe even have to put the gold into the kiln? The whole thing's a miracle. Hashem say, the menorah presents itself. But no, Moshe had to take the initiative by taking the gold, putting it into the kiln, and then the menorah came out. What is that? What is that the equivalent of? That's Yogata Motzoso. That to merit the illumination of Torah, you have to take initiative. You have to do to the degree that you could do. Beyond that, that's Siyata Dishmaya. That's Yogata Motzoso. If you toil in Torah and you meet the degree that you must toil, you'll merit that Siyata Dishmaya. You'll merit that divine assistance to understand what it is. Therefore, Moshe had to put the gold in the fire, and only then did he merit the miracle that Hashem brought the menorah out of the fire. When you kindle menorah, what does the menorah represent? The siyata d'shmaya for what? For the Torah itself. You put that fire at the base of that wick, and you leave it there, and now all of a sudden the flame goes up by itself. So it's that aspect of you do as much as you can, and the result of what you do, the flame comes up, and that's the illumination. That represents the illumination of Torah. That's the Yogaita Motzos Tamim. For that reason. That's Balos Chesed Menorah. The Gemara tells us in one location, in Menachos, that there was in Amora, he forgot a certain Nesechta. Everything was committed to memory originally. And he asked his Talmud, who he had taught that Nesechta to, that tractate to teach it to him, because he forgot it. So the student says to the Rebbe, should I come to your home and I'll teach it to you in your home? So the Rebbe says to the Talmud, no, I will come to you. You'll teach it to me when I come to you. So the Gemara asks, why? Why is it better that he should come to the student? Mistaya Milsa. Because it'll be more effective by him going to the student. So Rashi says, why? That he goes and he forgoes his honor, that he goes to the student, that's taking an initiative of toil. You have to forego something. That's your Gata. So anything which is against the grain, which comes with toil, which is against the grain, that itself allows you to merit the Siyata D'Shmaya for Torah itself. That's why he went to his Talmud to what? To be taught, rather than Talmud was happy and willing to come to him. Whenever you comes to Torah, the greater the level of initiative, the greater the level of toil, that will generate and bring about the greater level of what? Of Siyata D'Shmaya. We're talking about even with Lishma, even if you do something with the right intent, you have to take initiative and apply yourself to that degree. Now, it's interesting. In Pirkei Avos, we read in the 6th chapter, what is Darko Shel Torah? What is the way one acquires Torah? You should eat bread with salt, drink water in small measures, and even if you have to sleep on the floor, a life of deprivation you should live, meaning even if you have to live a life of deprivation, even if you have to eat a diet of bread and water and drink water in small amounts, even then you should what? That's the approach to Torah. You should be willing to forego the physical amenities of life for the sake of Torah. Why? Because anything going against the grain, that's sacrifice. You're sacrificing for the Torah. And that's Siyata Dishmaya. You have to take initiative. Something that comes naturally, easy, that's not called taking initiative. You work on it to the point where I've done my best. Done my best, now you merit the Siyata Dishmaya. As I'm talking, I'm thinking, we find in Shas, Teku. The Gemara presents a question, a halach question, and leaves it unresolved. And the Gemara concludes Teku. Teku is an acronym, Tishbi Yitarz Kushas Vabayus. We have to wait for Eliyahu Navi to come, and he will resolve all queries, all halachic questions, which were left unresolved. Meaning, we worked on it, toiled on to the point, we can't resolve it. When Eliyahu will come, he will resolve it. Who's Eliyahu? So we've done ours. Now we're going to be married to Siyata Dishmaya, that Eliyahu will elucidate and give us an understanding of what we weren't able to figure out ourselves. The Chavetz Chaim writes, the Chavetz Chaim instituted Kol Kochim. He instituted the idea of what it's important to study the section of Shas which has to do with the sacrifices, the Beis HaMikdash. Why? So he explained it with an allegory. The king is engaged to marry a woman, and he says to her that the princess, whenever you're ready to get married, I'm here, I'm waiting to take you as my wife, because the king has everything. I'll give you as much time as you need to prepare. That's the, and then when you tell me you're ready, we'll get married. We'll have the wedding ceremony. So the Chavetz Chaim writes, Hashem is ready to bring Mashiach. He's ready that the Beis HaMikdash should be rebuilt, the third Beis HaMikdash. What happens if the third Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt and people that totally ignorant of how to officiate in the Beis HaMikdash? They don't know the laws of Korbanos. They don't know the laws which pertain how to officiate regarding even the species. What is a species? What's not a species? And how to carry out the service and the intent of the service. Hashem says, I'm ready. The bride is not ready. Klal is not ready. So the Chavetz Chaim felt it's important to establish a Kol Kochim, have the greatest Torah sages of the time should study here. Rabbi Chana Wasserman, Zeich Tzaddik was one of them, and others who learned there to elucidate why. Because even if the Kohen himself is not adept in it, he could be advised at least by others how to officiate. But if he's not adept and others can't advise him how, so it will be a disgrace. The king who comes to get married and the Kala is not ready to enter into the chuppah. We're not ready. So therefore, you have to have, so he says over there something interesting. She says, what's the problem? Eliyahu will teach us. Eliyahu Navi will teach us what the avod is, because he announces the coming Mashiach. So he says, Eliyahu only comes to elucidate after you've toiled and you couldn't come to a level of clarity, he will bring about that clarification. Eliyahu is not here to teach you Torah. That's not the function of Eliyahu Navi. It's Tishmi Yitarz Kushas Abayos. He will resolve all the queries which were left unresolved. That he will do for you. But to teach you, he's not here to teach you. I mean, after you've done all you could, you've toiled to that degree, he'll bring that level of clarity. But to teach you the basics, to get to that point, he's not going to give you the background on that. So again, it's the same idea of Yogai to Matzosa. When are you going to merit Eliyahu's elucidation? only after you've toiled. Until that, you don't merit that.